Hey guys, welcome back to the Far From Healed podcast where we chop it up about trauma because, we all have trauma we don't want to talk about. Well, I'm here to talk about it. Little disclaimer for this episode while I freeze my little tush off. I will be mentioning a little bit of gory stuff in this episode, so if you don't want to hear, just about death and stuff like that, this episode is not for you. I did just want to explain that at the beginning. As I have mentioned in other episodes, my biological mom had been diagnosed with brain cancer when I was 8 or 9. Now, I can't say I remember a whole lot of the journey in itself, just like off the top of my head, because I was pretty young. What I can say is I do remember the pain. I remember the pain it caused her. I remember the migraines and the locking herself in the bedroom, and it just caused a lot of pain for her and our family for sure. Around the time I was 15, my mom was living in a hospice center in Mesa, Arizona, which is kind of full circle because that is where I was born. So she kind of brought me to life there, and then that's kind of where hers ended. So that's kind of sad and kind of full circle. I was in high school during this time, you know, and so of course I dropped out for a while to go be out there with her. I needed to go spend time with her, or so I thought we needed that time together. It wasn't it wasn't what I expected. We can just say that. During that time of my life, self-harming was the outlet. I had to control all the pain in my life I couldn't control. There was so many things happening in my life that I had zero control over. I had no way to control. I had no way to control the outcome or what happened to anybody. And that's hard for somebody who loves as hard as I do, I think. So, when I went down there, I was already in a weird mental space, but then trying to hide my pain from her was just a little bit extra. I remember there just getting there and she was so excited to see me. I was so excited to see her. It had been so long since I'd seen her that time. Man, was I shocked when the brain cancer just really had taken over and she was in just such an angered state of mind. She just I can't even blame her though. Like, how are you not angry? Angry you can't change your situation, angry you can't do anything for yourself, angry you're in a place where your family isn't at with you all the time. Like, that's scary for anybody. And she was super puffy from the steroids they were giving her, so it was just not the best friend I once had. She just was just not herself. And I mentioned before, she was always the best friend, never the parent. While I was there, it was a mind game to see her try and parent me. I mean, what? Now, granted, I do know she is my parent. That's just never the role she kind of played, is all. Like, in my life, she really was my best friend. We really did just have fun times and do fun things and make fun memories. And, or at least that's what I remember. I don't have any memories of her parenting me, really. So I just think, always the best friend, never the parent. And that's what I remember. And I think that's okay for me to remember it that way. It makes it less painful, I think. I was there for a few months. I feel like could be longer, could be shorter. Felt like a few months. That's what it feels like. That's what it probably was. But the best of memories don't come from being there in those times because that's she passed away right whenever I right after I got there, and because of her condition, I feel like we didn't get to spend most of the time I was there with each other. And I think I really needed that time with her. I really needed a chance to say goodbye to her and just kind of have that closure because I never got that closure. And I just really wish we got a chance to do that. And she wasn't really in her right mind when she did see us, so it just wasn't ever closure. I have three pretty super fond memories of my time and being there. These memories will be why I put the disclaimer at the beginning of the episode because even to me, they are gruesome. So I just want to make sure anybody listening at this point also know that coming forward in this episode, it is going to be a little gruesome, a little hard to hear. This is just my life and my story, and this is how I'm choosing to tell it. My first memory that really sticks is going to be probably going to the hospice center to visit her. She was always so excited to see me, which was a blessing for sure. She had the best smile, and her energy was just so pure. For me, when I seen her with socks on her hands, and her face is just a little itchy and irritated, and so naturally I asked what was going on and why my poor sweet mama was itching and stuff, and they said that the steroids were making her itch too much and she couldn't help herself and she was going to make herself bleed if she kept scratching. So they had socks covering her hands and they had her, um, with some restraints to the bed. But, while we're talking there, just trying to make her smile and kind of change the mood and just kind of uplift this stuff because this is not an easy time for anybody. And I have to imagine it was even harder for her to go through watching us watch her deal with all this stuff. And I just see like the smallest amount of blood coming from her nose. And the next thing I know, she's hemorrhaging out of her nose. The blood would not stop coming out. So my aunt took me back to her house because that was a lot for a 15-year-old to process for sure. I mean, for sure. Let me confirm. It was a lot for a 15-year-old to process. 2 days later, I remember not being able to sleep well that night. And so I was up tossing and turning, and just before 2 a.m., I finally woke up for good, and boom, like a ton of bricks in my stomach. The phone rang. Now, at that time of night, I just knew what it was. Shocker when my uncle walks in and lets me know the news. In that moment, my whole entire world slowed down. I had no real words coming out other than okay. I mean, shit. 15 years old in another state, away from everyone I found comfort in, and my mom just passed away alone in the hospice center on June 29th, 2009. I just don't even know if I still have words. I think obviously it's been a long time and I've processed how to live with it and how to deal with it, but I just don't even have words for the memories. Probably why I don't talk about them all that often. Another terribly long, long, long few days go by, and for the life of me, I actually have no idea how long that was until I had to go through this last part and the last memory with my mom. The verification process after a loved one passes away is is next level. My mom wanted to be cremated, so we had to verify, you know, her body. And for anyone listening, once again, that does not want to hear about gory stuff, this part isn't going to be for you. So here we go. We walk into this little tiny stone cobble building, is what it felt like. And the very, very, very first thing I see, and I do mean the very first thing I see, was a cardboard box with my beautiful mom inside of it. Now, if you think that's as bad as it sounds, which it was, she was just lifeless. Her color, was almost gray. Her fingers and her lips were purple. Being a next of kin is not an easy situation for anyone to go through. So respect to anyone that has had to verify their loved ones. Because that was just earth-shatteringly hard to do, especially for a parent. So if you have had to go through that, respect. You're not alone, trust me. My mom was always a light who was just always trying to shine her light in people's lives. She was a speakerphone for preaching things she believed in. You know, she had a smile that quite literally changed a room full of energy. She had her faults, yes, but she was a magic light everyone needed around in their lives at least one time. I miss my mom every day, and it's been at least 15 years without her. Not any one of those days have gone by without her on my mind. As I grow, as a grown up, processing the loss of both of her mom and her stepmom now, I am stronger than I give myself credit for. I have become I have become so strong. I am just trying to figure out how to rationalize that, I think. And I also have overcome so much loss in my life personally, and somehow I find a way to drag myself through that shit. And you just do. You just have to. I mean, that's just like how I was raised. So you just have to keep going. In another episode or two, we'll cover the loss of two moms in my life because that's another hard thing to handle. And the loss of loved ones in general is just not easy. I've lost a lot of my mom's side of the family, so it's just not easy for anyone to deal with. For anyone listening to this episode, how do you process the loss of your parents? And for the people who haven't lost their parents, have you lost anyone else? And if you have, how do you process the loss of them? Leave a comment below with your stories. I want to hear them for sure, and I know other people want to hear them too. Just like always, this is Far From Healed podcast where we chop it up about trauma. I am here to talk about the hard things, and I do appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to my podcast. You are all truly special in your own ways. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye, y'all.